Yay! Okay. This is Paramount Plus with Showtime's new series, The Agency, from Ford versus Ferrari and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny writers, Jez and John Henry Butterworth. The Agency follows covert CIA agent Martian, played by two-time Oscar nominee Michael Fassbender. Come on, seriously. He's ordered to abandon his undercover life in Ethiopia, where he's having a relationship with a married woman. Was it an assignment? Is he in love? Was it a fling? The love he left behind reappears suddenly, putting his career, his identity, all into peril. Let's watch a clip.
The Reaper footage shows they were chased into the quarry by two Russian Tiger APCs. 10-minute firefight, after which two Tigers exit the quarry onto the main road, alone.
All comms are blackout?
They follow protocol for emergency abort and went dark.
Assuming they follow protocol to the letter, what next? Go to ground?
For 48 hours, then resume their extraction route. We keep the route open, pray they make contact.
Well, we can do more than pray, we can find them. How recent are these maps? All of these military units are on the move, right?
The front is moved at several key flashpoints. This entire area is now deep behind enemy lines. That puts conventional search and rescue, helicopters, drones, all off the menu.
3 guys trained to vanish in thousands of square miles of open country.
Needle-made haystack.
Felix is on pause, so that gives us some time.
Felix is active.
Since when?
Felix is a mission of the utmost sensitivity. The capture of these operatives would constitute an immediate strategic geopolitical disaster. We have to get them back. It's crucial to national security, but even more crucial is that we do not, under any circumstances, reveal a covert activity. You find them. You bring them back. Whatever it takes.
Let's introduce our guests. As Sammy Zaire, the woman who is the love interest, Jodie Turner-Smith. As the second in command of London Station, Henry Ogletree, Oscar nominee and Primetime Emmy winner, Mr. Jeffrey Wright. He is the station chief Bosco, Primetime Emmy nominee and Golden Globe winner. You know him from Pretty Woman, Breathless, Chicago, the list goes on. Mr. Richard Gere, please rise. Everybody on your feet.
Left halfback.
He's the executive producer of The Agency and The Spy in Question. As Martian, two-time Oscar nominee, Mr. Michael Fassbender. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So, a number of you have starred in thrillers, have starred in spy thrillers. How does The Agency set itself apart from other works in your canon in terms of that genre?
He's looking at you, Richard.
I'm in it.
I don't think I've done. One of us actually wants to talk over there. I'm trying to think of this. I haven't done a spy.
But you've done your fair share of thrillers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But
some of the characters you've played have dealt with.
You know what it is? I rarely play a boss.
Okay.
I'm usually one of these left field, right field, off in the corners kind of guy. But I played the boss in this one, which was a little hard for everyone, I think, to believe that I was actually the boss.
Fair point.
These
Fair
are
point.
a lot of alpha people here, you know, they didn't want to give that up. No, but it was fun playing with these guys. And I mean, there's a lot of testosterone up on this stage. I'm sorry, Jodie.
I think there's enough estrogen here to just cancel all that out.
Neutralize.
No, but I think it's rare to read something that's this well written, for sure, and has the richness of character. And the writers were very responsive, I think, to all of us too. Actors always have questions about character development and would I really do this and how would I really say that, and maybe there's a better way. But they were very open and responsive to all this, and I think that was, and the fact that we got along so well. I mean, the three of us. Unfortunately, I don't work with Jodie, and she just told me I don't work in the second season either, which we're both really upset about. But I mean, just being able to work with these wonderful actors, things happen quite quickly, and the shooting went quickly. But we were shooting it like a movie, so to me, it was a movie.
Yeah, thank God we got on, actually. I was thinking that after we finished. I was like, thank goodness we all got on, because that would have been very difficult, because, you know, you definitely got to hit the ground running with television and, you know, 2 weeks to shoot an episode. Got to block the scene and figure things out quickly. But I would say what maybe sets this series apart, obviously there's a lot of stuff out there in this genre at the moment. And a lot of the times I find that they're trying to pack a lot in, like to an episode. And what the agency does really well, and the original series as well, The Bureau, is it takes its time in a way that, you know, maybe like a book would do. You're introduced to the characters. There's such an intelligence to the setup of everything, and then the payoff comes down the line. And for an audience, I think, you know, you've got to lean in a little bit. You've got to do a bit of work yourself. They're always the kind of things that I find most rewarding. And I think, you know, by the time you start to get into episode 3, 4, 5, things then just start cinching up, and all the things that have been introduced in the first couple of episodes start to materialize and come together, all the different sort of, you know, threads and storylines. It's very smart writing, as Richard said.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, the way that it differs from, well, certainly things that I've been a part of in the past is that it's really grounded in kind of geopolitical reality that reflected what's happening in the real world. So at the same time, it was intensely human. I mean, it was very much about the relationships that these people have, these civil servants, these federal employees. That was really the focus of it, but the backdrop is really drawn from the headlines. So, you know, going forward, the show will take place in a dystopian, chaotic circus on Mars.
I'm not in that episode. I won't be going to Mars.
But it was that attention to detail in terms of kind of creating the stage for us to play on that was so relevant and timely and thoughtful that, for me, at least relative to other projects, you know, similar projects that I've been a part of, really separated it from those.
Jodie, can you tell us how Sammy carves out a path in this male-dominated spy intelligence world?
Well, Sammy is, you know, not really she's not a spy. And so it still kind of is male-dominated, but I think it's realistic in that we all know that for a lot of people, what motivates them is love, right? And so even when she's not necessarily on screen, she's still there. You know, you can still see how she's driving the continuously more frenetic actions of the incredible Michael Fassbender. And so in a way, it was like I didn't even really have to struggle to carve out any space. Also, I think, You know, a great actor is going to be telling a story in a way that's making you think of these relationships, even when that person's not on screen. And that's really what Michael does. So I get to actually take up a lot of space in this show, even when I'm not on screen. And I think that's so interesting and really fun.
Michael, I love The Killer. Can you tell us about building Martian? There's this wonderful moment in the first episode, which feels like an echo to The Killer, where you come back to the apartment and you're combing through. It's right in the beginning. You're coming back and you're combing through the apartment and you're finding all the bugs. And tell us about building Martian.
Yeah, that scene actually wasn't in the script. That was an idea that I came up with. And it was an inspiration from The Conversation, the Gene Hackman movie, Coppola movie, where it is that thing of, if you're working in this field, the chickens are going to come home to roost. It's going to be happening to you. And always, the end of the movie where he's ripped his apartment to pieces, looking for a bug. Somebody might be listening to him. So that stuck with me, and I thought, how are we going to, portray this sort of paranoia, this constant state of paranoia that these people sort of operate in, and they have to survive. How we could do that. So that scene then came about with that, where he's, they're listening to him. He knows they're listening to him, and you've just sort of got to, carry on as normal. It's a little bit like Big Brother, the TV show. I don't know, do you guys have that over here, where people live in a house? And it made me think of that. But there was a lot of things that I did think about The Killer and this character, Martian. I think they're both sociopaths. And there's voiceover in both of the things. So you're kind of getting an inner monologue of what these characters are, their perceptions of the world and how they exist in it. So there were definite parallels there.
Jeffrey, your family worked in civil service. Can you tell us about how that informed your performance?
Oh, wow, yeah. For me, all of these characters, are their own individual selves, and they're all, for the most part, among those of us who are in the agency, of course, or as I described, government employees. For me, that was very much at the center of who Henry was, a guy who is working on behalf of his country, working on behalf of his government, is good at what he does, despite some of the kind of ethical considerations that come along with the responsibilities of being a part of this agency, which are complex, but he's doing the best he can. And as you described, I grew up in DC. My mom was a lawyer for U.S. Customs for 30 some odd years. I was raised by my mother and my aunt. My aunt was, when she retired, was the director of nurses or assistant director of nurses at DC General Hospital, which was a federally funded hospital, federal employee. I mean, I grew up within, the culture of, Washington, D.C. civil servants. I owe so much. I owe everything to that. And I understand something about that culture simply from having grown up within it. And obviously, I don't want to generalize, but for me, what this guy represented was someone who took his work seriously, who did, to the extent that he could, his work by the book. That was my mom. Never strayed. I mean, my mother would ask me when I would come back, from Jamaica with 2, bars of chocolate, did you declare them? I mean, there was no straying. Did you declare them? Of course I did. There might have been other things that I didn't, but, but so for me, that was very much a part of, you know, my thought process in building this character as someone who is, yes, a bureaucrat, but is doing it in service of something more than the bureaucracy, and trying to, you know, to go about his responsibilities with a degree of honor. I mean, because that's what I witnessed among those people. And again, not to generalize, but yeah, that's how I was raised to understand it. Yeah.
Richard, you have played characters that have often, they're dealt with moral choices and personal dilemmas. How is Bosco unique?
Yeah, I mean, Bosco's, I don't know that he's knowable. And I was kind of happy that he was written that way. This is a guy who's got to play many different roles in this, and I wanted it to feel like someone who had been out in the cold himself. He'd been out there. He knows the territory. He knows the mental, emotional state of someone who's out there, and his questionable identity, self-identity. He's got to be a daddy figure to almost all these guys. And for the most part, he's the only one who knows what's going on. There's one episode, I remember, I said to him, I said, look, even I don't know what's going on.
I love that.
And you know, in the end, these guys look to him. And I mean, I have to earn that from them, that I'm going to make a right decision. But I love that basically all these characters are Dostoevskian kind of characters who are in a morally ambivalent world. They're all good people. They're all doing their best to make things right in some bizarre sense for their country, for themselves. They know there's bad things they got to do. And I think with all of us, it's unclear where that line is that we cross, if we're even aware of where that is, and when that happens in the telling of the story. But I think we're all kind of riding that razor's edge of wanting to do good for our country, for the world, being kind of demented, crazy people, which I think everyone who does these kind of jobs are, but being responsible citizens at the same time. It's a peculiar kind of character to play that way. And there was one episode that I was going to discuss my wife. And I talked to the writers about it. I said, he doesn't have a wife. If he does, he's not going to talk about it. And he's not going to name her. This is kind of unknowable stuff to him. And I don't think anyone around him, I mean, we're pretty close in this story. But there's stuff that he doesn't know about me, for sure. And I hope we keep it that way over these seasons.
Can you, are you privy, can you tease anything about season 2, setting, otherwise, anything?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, you know, the way that the show was set up, you know, in the first season, it is kind of this slow burn. And then things really start ratcheting up in around sort of episode 5, 6, and it just ramps up to the end of the first season, and then it just doesn't let up in season 2. So the walls just keep coming in, and the vice grip just keeps getting tightened. It's really great writing in season 2 again. I'm very excited for people to see it because you know, that tension and that sort of jeopardy, it just heightens all the way through, you know, without any let up in the second season.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paramount Plus, with Showtime's The Agency, Jodie Turner-Smith, Richard Gere, Jeffrey Wright, Michael Fassbender.